Hello and welcome back. For those who've seen the first video, just a few things to point out with the first video. I noticed it with the mindfulness. I referred to it as being a positive thinking exercise. It isn't. It's thinking within the present moment without judgment and thinking neutrally, not in duality. So thank you, Jade, for pointing that out. Of course, yeah, because I was waffling on, didn't really explain it properly. And the statistic sounded a bit waffly as well. The one in four male deaths is suicide, not 1 in 4 suicides are male. So yeah, now I've got that out of the way. So this next video, I want to focus on the paradox, or the word paradox, and fear being a paradox. Because I think fear is something we all experience. It turns out I think we're only born with one fear when we're born. And I think that's fear of heights or something like that. So I heard that somewhere, but yet again, one of Dave's facts from pulled over from somewhere. I think fear comes in many forms, obviously, but I think we all have fears of physical things, of spiders and things like that. But the fear I'm talking about is the fear of what's inside yourself. And as dark as that may seem, there's the paradox. It's like you have to face what you're most scared of. And that's to get over it. It's like anything, to get over a height. Some people jump out of a plane. To get over the fear of a plane. Some people get on a plane. So I'm talking about some of these fears we have. And it's, because I remember I'm petrified of confrontation. I hate confrontation. It makes me, it's where you fight or flight seems to sort of kick in, and mine's definitely flight. But then ironically, one of my biggest issues in life, and it was when I was doing a lot of work on myself, I realised that anger was my biggest issue, but yet it's the thing I avoid the most. So there's the paradox, really. The thing I avoided the most, I have to face. And anger, like, I'm not an angry person at all. It's not something I resonate with. If you give me a list of emotions, that will be the absolute last that I associate with myself. However, by not expressing anger, because anger is an essential part of who you are, it's like like I say, it triggers your fight or flight. It makes you react how you should to a situation, because I mean, some of your anger might be stemmed from learned behaviour years ago, where maybe you've seen something you don't agree with because it's been nurtured into you that that's wrong, and then you formed your own opinion, so to speak. But I think my fear was for I think more for anger and confrontation. So I've really done some work on that, and it turns out, yeah, a lot of my issues are to do with like stored anger. Like for example, if you don't like something in a restaurant, I would just be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But then probably 3 days later, I'll be like, I should have said that. And it does then snowball into some other type of behaviour. It's got to come out somewhere. And anger is such a big energy. You can actually use anger for things like exercise and running. You've just got to really channel it and think about where you're going to put that energy. There's an exercise to do that, actually. I might talk about that later on in another video. But I think with my anger, what would happen was I would self-destruct. So if I was really angry, like whether it was partners or don't get me wrong, I would have an argument on an ex-partner, but it would be more like sort of family members or friends or anything. Like, rather than actually say, I would rather hurt myself and destroy myself because I know I can handle it, than actually confront them about it. And it's such a dangerous thing to do. It's like, I mean, but then the crazy thing is, then when you actually realise it and come to terms with it, you almost become the opposite. You almost become too blunt, and you're confronting everything, and everything's an issue. And like, so you have to really sort of go through the pendulum with that. You have to go from one side to the other, quite literally, and then just keep going back and forth. Okay, then you become blunt, then you become soft, and then in the end you will hit that level of neutrality. And when I talk about neutrality, I mean seeing things neutrally. So if you give things love, again, another cheesy sort of way of putting it, but if you give things love, you'll receive love. And it's like, whether it's a bad situation or not, you almost understand it a lot more. Don't see it as bad or good, see it as neutral, and you can really, really not only come to terms with the situation, you can almost understand it, pull it apart, understand the mechanics of the situation, why a person done that, why someone felt they needed to do that. And I think, and don't get me wrong, it's like I don't walk around the earth just thinking that, because again, then that positive thinking, it's that obsession with positive thinking, and then it's like, oh, I'm not thinking positive, and I'm not thinking neutral. Neutral is just standing back, observing. And I think as a kid, maybe I used to do this. It's like I used to love watching people, watching situations, walking into rooms, just watching, and kind of just almost staying in my own head with it. And you have everyone has every right to do that. They have every right just to take time. And I think this is time is the only currency, really. I think, and I think you've got to give yourself time for anything, time to heal, time to eat, time to sleep. It's like, because otherwise everything becomes a rush, and all you're thinking about is the next thing you've got to do. Have I got to get up yet? Have I got to hang on, enjoy the moment that you're in bed? You've got another 10 minutes, or otherwise some people then enjoy it too much and then end up being late and stuff. But again, almost giving yourself time, because what that does, it almost respects yourself. And I think that's quite important as well. So getting back onto the fear, I mean, you'll hear the word paradox a lot, because one thing I've come to realise and learn with through life, through doing all this work, is everything is kind of back to front. A paradox is like a contradictory meaning to something. So it's almost like you're doing the opposite to get through something or to get over something. My first instant thought was fear when I thought about this word, because I wanted to do a video on the word paradox. And then from there, my mind goes wild, and then I woke up at like 4 o'clock this morning just thinking about it. But I think when you stay, and again talking about neutrality, when you stay neutral and you take a step back, all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't put so. When you feel like you're putting almost too much effort into something, like something silly, it could be like sending a text message and it's like it's just not sending, and it's like almost don't do that. If something's taking too much effort, don't do that, and then almost take a step back and see it neutrally and be like, hang on a minute, maybe this is a sign and maybe I'm not supposed to do that. And then that's when you start seeing the paradox. That's when you start seeing that actually maybe I should do the opposite, or maybe I should do that or that, and it becomes apparent. And once you notice it once, it's like going down the rabbit hole. You just start seeing it everywhere, and you start seeing that actually the world you live in is almost completely different to what you thought it was. And then all of a sudden things start happening, and it starts becoming right, and things start going right, and even the bad things, then you start looking at, again I'll say neutral, as okay, like you see them as relevant, and you always see the bad as a lesson then, because do we ever learn from the good? No, we just go, oh, that was nice, and we want to do it again, but we won't really progress further with it. With the bad, you go, okay, that was bad, and you'll learn from it. You know, with an oven door, when you was a child, people can tell you till they're blue in the face that you shouldn't touch that oven door, but till you've touched it, you won't know that it's hot, and then you'll never do it again. But what will happen is, if you don't learn from that, you will touch it again, and you will touch it again, and then in the end, you learn. And that's with everything. That's with going down the same road, and there's the same those pop-up traffic lights. You just go the other way. It's going to take longer. And then relationships, going back and there's that saying, isn't there? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So, like I say, to conclude, a lot of things in life are a paradox and almost contradictory. That's life, and when you accept it, it's quite nice actually. Fear being, I think, one of the worst, but then facing your darkest fears, facing who you truly are, will ultimately make any fear minuscule once you go into the deep part of who you are. And the scariest thing to do is go into yourself, and that's the biggest paradox and the biggest fear, because all of a sudden, not only will you learn a lot about yourself, you'll unlearn a lot about yourself. You will become your authentic self, who you was born to be. because you've been moulded by education, society, parents, teachers. And this usually happens about 30 to 35, actually. This is why midlife crises happen. And this is why people all of a sudden go, hang on a minute, the world's a different place. Is this what all my life is? And then we go from there, really. And but yeah, facing yourself, facing your biggest fear, facing the paradox that is yourself, going down the rabbit hole, seeing things neutral is essential. You haven't got to, obviously, but it's just something I learned, and I found it quite important. So so again, bidding thee farewell. Thank you for watching, and I'll probably make another video in a few days, should it be called for.